Hi, Carl Ford at Exita Connection 2012, and I'm here with John Carroll and Bill Pollock, who are part of the Service Council. And it turns out a community I'm on LinkedIn, but more than LinkedIn, they've actually made a group called theservicecouncil.com, and we're going to find out more about it right now. So I'm going to start by asking the question to Bill. Okay, Bill, you're the Chief Research Officer.
Yes.
Okay, so tell me about when you exactly formed.
Well, actually, this was John Carroll's vision and dream. He started the Service Council as a LinkedIn business group back in 2009.
Okay, so I'll ask you, John, how many, sorry about that, into the mic. So how many people are part of the LinkedIn community right now?
Well, we have 2,200 members and growing. When we started, obviously we started from zero. When I partnered with Bill at the end of 2010, when we started to formalize the Service Council as independent from the LinkedIn community, we had about 150 members, so we've grown considerably.
Okay, and that changes when we talk about the LinkedIn group. That's like any individual. When we're talking about the council, it starts to be companies and organizations, right?
That's correct. So we've taken the community that exists on LinkedIn and we've actually migrated them to our independent website. And the whole premise behind the Service Council is to present a platform for global service executives to share, shape, and sharpen their global service strategy. And so we're emulating LinkedIn by making message boards and creating an interactive environment for service executives to debate and discuss issues that they're facing within their global service operation.
Okay, and when I was talking to Bill earlier, we got onto the whole idea of the fact that brick and mortar is just, changing dramatically as a result of what's going on in the business. You want to talk a little bit about how you see things rolling out?
Well, yeah, we've seen the evolution of service from a recognition of the need to transition from a cost center to a profit center, basically acknowledging that service can no longer be treated as just a line of business, that it's more of a culture that it's embraced across the organization. One of the themes that we've developed as part of our coverage of the service market is called smarter services, and this whole concept that there's a smarter and better approach to delivering service, whether it's through enabling technologies where you can intelligently diagnose issues through remote applications. The connection event today or tomorrow and the next day are going to be exciting for that reason. Or if it's through optimization and becoming more optimal in your service delivery performance. A lot of things that we're covering run the gamut from field service all the way through the intelligent diagnostic and repair functionality.
So let me turn to the researcher now.
Sure.
And Bill, we've mentioned a few companies that have been involved, and one of the things that was striking in what you were saying to me is just how big the contrast is. Should we expect that the brick and mortar guys all turn into Amazon eventually, or how do we see things changing?
Well, no, that's not going to happen. There's not going to be a metamorphosis of that grand a scale. However, I've been around, maybe you can tell from the white hair, for over...
I resemble that remark, go ahead.
For over 30 years. And when I first started in the business as a consultant and a research analyst, everything was just break-fix, hardware maintenance. And in the mid-'80s, networks proliferated for the first time. And when a network went down, you didn't know whether it was the hardware, the software, the phone company. Things have thankfully really evolved nicely over the years, but there have been a lot of glitches along the way. And one of the things that we've seen is some of the traditional B2B service organizations that are used to doing hardware maintenance, software maintenance, and then year after year adding another module or another offering to their portfolio, rather than re-engineering what they're doing, end up with the same old offerings and then some add-ons, and yet the newcomers that are coming out are starting from scratch. And what we've seen is that, particularly with companies that don't have the encumbrance of brick and mortar, they haven't been around for 30 years. They've been around for 3, 5, 7, 10 years, tops. They are working in a B2C culture, business to consumer, and they don't know from the bullion standard of platinum, gold, silver, bronze, different levels of quality for different levels of cost. All they know is companies like Yahoo or Amazon, QVC, even American Express, that if they don't satisfy the customer, customers got alternatives. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to meld in both sides of the industry, the B2B side, the B2C side, and give an opportunity and a venue for organizations of all kinds of services to get together and share ideas, strategies, tactics, etc., and so forth. We focus mainly on the Chief Service Officer side, the CSO. That doesn't mean that we don't have field technicians and dispatchers and others as part of our membership group, but the main focus is on the executive level and to give them a platform to share ideas.
Okay, so in the Gray Hair Society, we'll put John over to the side for a moment here. You know, some of this stuff looks awfully familiar to me in terms of the fact that, you know, it looks like an element management system in disguise, you know, and all this stuff that I know from my past, you know, and, you know, I've got grand unifying theories like Tina C in my past and all sorts of other nonsense. And yet, if I listen to Wall Street, I've got guys who sit there and say, you know, Facebook's our future. So how do the mindsets get together? How do you blend all these people's different viewpoints?
Yep. Well, someone once asked Willie Sutton, the bank robber, back in the 1930s, why do you rob banks? He said, because that's where all the money is. So as the Chief Research Officer, what I do is I go to where all the information is, and that's from the customers and the end users. So what we started doing back just over a year ago, we conducted our first benchmark. And the benchmark that we did first was on field service. Why? Because it's something that John and I felt comfortable with. Our initial community felt comfortable with it. They were steeped more in field service than other disciplines. So we did the survey, we got hundreds of responses, and we generated a number of white papers, case studies, and webinars. The second survey we did, the second benchmark, was a few months later on service delivery automation. And what that did is, whether it was field service, or depot repair service, or software support, or web-enabled support, it was how do we deliver service, and how do we do it in a more automated fashion. So that was our second benchmark. Third one, we went back to the basics again last November, service parts management and reverse logistics. And we did that to cater to a rising need among the users of logistics services, and particularly third-party logistics, 3PLs. How do I break into Brazil? How do I deal with mission-critical parts instead of just standard parts? Can you help me out? So we found out what they were looking for, what was available, and we put the two together. Now, where everything comes into line with the Exida connection is in March, April of 2012, we conducted our fourth benchmark, and that was on remote services. And to be honest, I didn't think we were going to get as many responses for that survey, because in some segments it's an acquired taste, we're not there yet, but we have the highest response rate of any of the benchmarks. We had 490 responses, and that didn't include the 130 screen outs that said, we're not considering, we're not using, don't bother us again. So of that 490, what we found is that remote services is here, but it's here in different aspects for different kinds of users. And what we want to do is we want to share the results with users who are using one aspect of it, so they can see what other applications might be of use to them, and vice versa, and just spread the word that way. That's why we're here today and for the next couple of days at Exida Connection, to help spread the word and see what's important to Exida's customers and other attendees here.
Cool, Bill, thank you. Now, John, just out of curiosity, what's your vision for the Service Council? Where do you want it to head, and what can we do to help?
Oh, that's a great question. We've seen a tremendous amount of growth as far as community. We're starting to enter new markets from a geographic perspective. We have a 20-member advisory board. You can see it at our website. We've grown to about 3,000 members, and our vision is to accelerate our growth quite tremendously. We've launched a couple of partnerships with major thought leadership-driven organizations, trade publications like Field Technologies. We're about to launch a partnership in Europe. We've just launched a partnership in Asia Pacific with Up Your Service, an education firm headed by Ron Kaufman, who recently keynoted our Smarter Services Symposium. But our vision for our growth is to become a destination for service organizations. We want to become the platform to enable the discussion after all these events take place, right? A lot of great discussion and debate takes place, but then you leave and you wonder how to implement some of these strategies. And so one of the things that we're trying to do is present that platform moving forward for service executives to validate their strategy on an ongoing basis. And so that's a big part of our growth moving forward.
Cool, great. Thank you both very much.
Our pleasure.
Thank
Thanks
you.
so much.